I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
It makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
I have not loved this conversation.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. Wow, midweek already. We got a good show for you today. I actually do want to start out talking about the $3.5 trillion stimulus. I'm sorry, not stimulus. I'm already getting it wrong. Infrastructure package, reconciliation bill, and specifically Joe Manchin. Looks like Joe Manchin is already threatening to tank the entire thing, as well as corporate Democrats. I'm definitely going to talk about that. Not a prepared segment, but I'm seeing all this stuff, and I got to talk about it. I got to talk about it. So we're going to do that. We're going to start that out. Then we're going to go and talk about, of course, Mike Pillow's second day of the symposium. And we're going to ask you an important question. Should be fun. Should be fun. Also, we have Rand Paul going after the free market. Fun. We got Rudy Giuliani selling himself for cheap. Fun. And then we'll go to, of course, yes, I know I've been promising the Activision Blizzard story. Didn't get around to everything yesterday. I know. I had some things to take care of, as usual. I'm going to try to get to everything today as much as possible. So we'll do that. All right. Let's see. Before I do, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Helps out greatly in their super chat, of course. Let's see. Ronnie Lama Richardson says, I'm diagnosed with skin cancer. I'm so sorry. It's been a heavy few weeks. Enjoy your show. Thank you for the super chat. I hope everything goes well, that you're able to get treatment, and that you overcome. I'm really bad at this, but let's just say that my thoughts are with you, and I hope things get better. Obviously. And so thank you. I'm sorry, I'm so bad at that. But I really do hope you feel get better. So. All right. Anyway, Bannon keeps ripping off right wingers. Shocker, right? Watching the intro makes you feel good. Oh, I'm glad. Mike Pillow's second day of not understanding what a streamathon is. True. All right. I guess I guess we should probably do that. Sometimes you have to cut the D block. Yeah, reference. True. I hear John never gets to the D block. Well, you understand, you got to get to the D. You can't just leave the D out. Yes, I know. I'm bad. Like, bad puns on purpose. I know. All right, anyway. Let's go to this. All right, we're going to start out with, like I said, Joe Manchin. So last night, the Senate passed the $3.5 trillion. I'm sorry, not passed, but they opened up procedural voting on the $3.5 trillion reconciliation package. So look, that's good news, but obviously the process is not done. They have to go through, and they're going to do amendments, and they're going to do all of this different stuff, and then when they're done, they got to send it back to the House of Representatives in order to get that passed, as well as sending the I think it was $1 trillion not reconciliation package, but the $1 trillion bipartisan agreement. And so now the bigger question of that is, are we going to get the reconciliation bill? So that's what's really important here. The reconciliation bill basically addresses a lot of the stuff that was left out of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the one that, of course, actually passed the Senate as well. And so there are House Democrats that are saying, well, we're not going to move forward unless we get the reconciliation bill. Well, now you have, of course, Joe Manchin putting out a statement saying, I might just tank the reconciliation bill if we don't pass the bipartisan bill. So, okay, so this is interesting. So he puts out a statement earlier, this is on Twitter. Early this morning, I voted yes on a procedural vote to move forward in the budget reconciliation process because I believe it's important to discuss the fiscal policy future of this country. However, I have serious concerns about the grave consequences facing West Virginians and every American family if Congress decides to spend another $3.5 trillion. Here we go. Here we go. More than any time, over the past year, Congress has injected more than $5 trillion of stimulus into the American economy, more than any time since World War II to respond to the pandemic. Well, I mean, there's a good explanation for that. It was a pandemic. That is still ongoing, by the way. And, by the way, Joe Manchin does not mention anywhere in this statement that the majority of that money was injected into the banks for liquidity. It was something like $3 trillion was put into the banks? Come on. But no, he doesn't say anything about that. He says this, continues by saying, the challenge we now face is different. Millions of jobs will remain unfilled across the country, and rising inflation rates are not an unavoidable tax on the wages and income of every American. Well, they could raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Yes, I know a lot of companies have responded to the lack of people lining up to take their jobs by raising wages. But there should be, there should be enough for Congress to act now to give everyone a $15 minimum wage. And of course, I know 15 is not what we should be asking for. We should actually be asking for like 25, because 15 was like a living wage like 10 years ago at this point. So we should be asking for more, but at the very least, Congress could try to pass a $15 minimum wage. And of course, we tried, and guess who shut that down? Cinema. Of course. Those are the problem. That's the real big problem here with wages, is that they just have not gone up, at least the federal minimum wage. And really, it's only because workers have begun reclaiming their power and not taking these crappy underpaying jobs that employers have been forced to raise wages, which they could have done all along, even though they cry and say, oh God, no, we can't raise wages because that's going to destroy our business. Turns out it didn't destroy it at all. You know what destroys business? Not having any workers and not having customers as well who can afford your services. But Anyway, there's more here. These are not indications of an economy that requires trillions in additional spending. Every elected leader is chosen to make difficult decisions, adding trillions of dollars to nearly 29 trillion of national debt without any consideration of the negative effects on our children and grandchildren. One of the decisions that has become far too easy in Washington. Given the current state of the economic recovery, it is simply irresponsible to continue spending at levels more suited to respond to a Great Depression or Great Recession, not an economy that is on the verge of overheating. More importantly, I firmly believe that continuing to spend at irresponsible levels puts at risk our nation's ability to respond to the unforeseen crises our country could face. I don't even know what that means. How? Literally, we just print money. All right. And then he finally says, I urge my colleagues to seriously consider this reality as the budget process unfolds in the coming weeks and months. All right. So here's the thing. Do you know what they're spending money on? Well, the bipartisan bill actually spends money only on roads and bridges, right? So it's actually good for fossil fuels. More roads, more vehicles, etc., right? And also one of the pay-fors, and it's funny because he doesn't mention any of the pay-fors that were in there. It turns out some of the pay-fors were going to end up being things like asset reclamation, I believe. Basically what they would do, and I don't know if it's asset reclamation or I can't think of the word here, but it's basically where they sell off public assets to private corporations who will then be able to monetize it by putting in tolls. I know they said they promised, well, we're not going to, have tolls on people making under $400,000 a year. How are you going to enforce that? How are you going to enforce that? Do you really think these companies are going to be like, how much recycling? Thank you. How much money do you make per year? I have to ask you that because I can't charge you a toll if you make under $400,000. You think they're actually going to do that? Of course not. Of course not. Asset concessions as well. So that, yeah, there's asset recycling and there's asset concessions, and so that's what they're calling them, right? But it's basically privatization. And so you're going to end up. And by the way, we already paid for these roads and bridges through our tax money. And then they're going to turn it over to these private corporations that are further going to monetize roads and bridges. It's disastrous. That's in the bipartisan bill, right? And of course, there's investments in fossil fuels as well. So the progressive case is to go, okay, pass this bipartisan after you pass the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. And by the way, one would hope, like the reconciliation bill, you would undo that asset recycling stuff in the reconciliation package, kind of overwrite some of the bad stuff. So now the things that were left out of the bipartisan bill as well is, oh, look at that, climate change. No new spending on climate change. Human infrastructure as well, what they call it. Right? That's all part of the $3.5 trillion, the climate stuff and the human infrastructure. Again, all this is roads and bridges, and that's of course how you were able to get so many Republicans on board. So now, you're not going to be surprised why Joe Manchin is coming out with this. It's not because he cares about debts and deficits. That is always the excuse. That is always the cover. In reality, his donors do not want anyone to pass climate change measures. That's despite the IPCC report that said this is an alarm for the climate. We have to do something. It's red alert time. But of course, as you see, Joe Manchin gets a lot of money from fossil fuel corporations. In fact, you had billionaire donors talking with Joe Manchin, of course, with no labels, of course. And here, let me go to The Intercept. This is from all the way back in June. Li Fang and Ryan Grimm were writing this. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, in a private call on Monday with a group of major donors, provided a revealing look at his political approach to some of the thorniest issues confronting lawmakers. The meeting was hosted by the group No Labels, big money operation co-founded by former Senator Joe Lieberman, that funnels high net worth donor money to conservative Democrats and moderate Republicans. Among the gatherings newsworthy revelations, Manchin described an openness to filibuster reform at odds with most of his recent position. Let's see. The call included billionaire investors and corporate executives. Yeah, so they talked about that. And they wanted, of course, to strip the far left, what he calls the far left, their best arguments against the filibuster. And all right, so this here. Actually, let's go to another thing about Manchin. Right, Manchin makes way more money from coal investments than his salary as a senator. Yep, that's true. That's very true. He makes double his salary. Double his salary. And that, again, that's just investments. All right. Let's see. Saw some more. This is according to Jonathan Larson of TYT reporting. Legal documents show Manchin has stakes in companies that pay less than $15 an hour. That's not a surprise. Let's see. There's that. And so, look, he, again, gets a lot of corporate donations. There was the Exxon lobbyist that he had direct ties, of course, was able to talk to Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema. And they're, of course, not in favor of doing anything when it comes to climate. And so here you have Joe Manchin putting out this statement that is against not the bipartisan, but the reconciliation package that actually does something about climate and actually does some real human investment because, well, look, he's not interested in doing that stuff. Joe Manchin wholly serves the donors, always has, always will, and now he's threatening to derail the entire process. That's the result of this. It's not a surprise to see him go up against this and to try to tank it. And I hope he's not successful. I hope there is a way to stop him from actually being able to tank this reconciliation bill. I don't know how. I don't know. So I'm not very. Let's just say I'm not very hopeful that anything's going to happen. I know it's. I'm kind of being a downer today, a little doomer, but I gotta give it to you honestly. I don't see this. I don't see the reconciliation package passing, but I do see the bipartisan infrastructure bill passing. Because once again, it comes down to these two senators, and not just the two of them, of course. You also have the others, the John Testers of the world. And so they work for the donors, and generally the donors tend to get what they want. Always. Almost always. The government wasn't paying Wall Street's debts, and I bet you the corporations were willing to allow spending. I don't know, honestly. So yeah, not a lot of hope here today. No hopium here. Can anyone name one single policy that is nonpartisan? Honestly, if you were to ask people, for example, and you know, do you think you should have higher wages, or workers should have higher wages, and like present without context, without naming a party or a politician who brought forward such a bill, then generally, yes, most people would support that, support, you know, raising wages. But when you start putting it into a partisan lens, that's when people start to draw battle lines, and they go back to their respective camps. You know, policy. I mean, you know, policy should be not. It should be about what policies are best. People should support the best policies that will help them and their families and the country. But unfortunately, too many people are locked into a team mentality. So, you know, that tribalism makes it so that's very difficult to get things. All right, so let's go to Mike Pillow. Mike Pillow's Cyber Symposium is already in its second day, and, well, at least one conservative is openly asking, where's the receipts? So now this is a convicted criminal, Steve Bannon, and he went after MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell for failing to provide the desired proof that the 2020 election was stolen from President Donald Trump. In fact, I'm going to show you that video.
Get to the receipts. Yesterday, kind of a good way to set the stage, a lot of interesting analysis, but we understand people want to see what's going on.
Yeah, and I think you know, a lot of people who have been following on a day-to-day basis are very keen to get the data and get all the evidence up front as much as they can get and look over it themselves. I think people also need to bear in mind that this is a 3-day symposium, and yesterday was always meant as a sort of introduction, especially for the people in the room who haven't come across the things that Mike has been saying over the last couple of months.
I would have done it differently. Mike's his own guy. I understand it's his show. I would have come out and overwhelmed immediately with packet captures and data and show, hey, here's what I got, pull the camera back and then frame it and then continue on.
And I think that's the right thing to do now. I think a lot of people have realized exactly what we're talking about and the rhetoric around what Mike's talking about.
I get it up right now. I think this is a mistake. I don't think they should play this movie again. I want to be brutally frank. I think there's so much work to get through the day. The movie was excellent. It was played yesterday. They played a number of times. And if that's just because they got to get people here and organize, that's one thing. But I think the film is not the film's terrific. It's a great, as a filmmaker, I tell you, they did a very good job. I think it's 15 minutes long, but I think it's now time to really get to the details. You've laid a theory of the case out here that's very powerful, but in laying that case out, you've got to bring the receipts.
Yep. I mean, you can't deny that.
Oh, that's so good. All right. Yes, the receipts. Where are the receipts? Good question. Where's the beef? Go back to that old Wendy's commercial. I don't know. I've just dated myself, but yes, you got a cyber symposium. Okay, well you're supposed to show the proof. Why not get to the proof? Well, we know the answer to that. Ain't no proof. Ain't no proof. There's a reason the guy is not only playing the same 15-minute propaganda film multiple times, which according to Steve Bannon, and he would know, is pretty well produced. And look, Steve Bannon has some expertise on filmmaking. But this video, again, this is a flashy video filled with allegations. It ultimately means nothing if there's nothing to back it up. And there's nothing to back it up. So he's playing it over and over because he's got nothing. More vague promises. And so Steve Bannon's over there saying, okay, great, where's the proof? You promise proof, there is no proof. Where are the receipts? It's an interesting question. Because, again, there is no proof. What this entire cyber symposium, for one, it's a content farm, which I'm very grateful for because I enjoy it. Just the absolute failure of the entire thing, watching the hope vanish from their eyes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But it's, again, hopium for the QAnon masses and a chance for Mike to sell pillows. Once again, it's not just a propaganda film that keeps getting played. It's ads for pillows. And so, yes, he gets to try to hawk his pillows. And then, of course, this is a good chance for conservative commentators to rack up millions of views, clicks, donations, all of that stuff. It is a very, very clear grift. And now, again, even Bannon. So in a part that I had to cut out, they talked about how the audience had some colorful language, right? The hogs are getting restless, guys. And that's what you have to understand. What Steve Bannon is doing is he's echoing what he's seen on the forums and in the chat rooms, people watching the symposium, and they're like, okay, yeah. Okay, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Where's the smoking gun, right? Where is it? You said you have the evidence that's going to prove us right. Where is it? Where is it? Show us the proof. Show us the proof. And that proof, again, it's never going to show up. Now, I guarantee that probably the third day, the last day of the cyber symposium, he's going to come out with something that's probably like super vague or flat out impossible and say, oh, look, there's your proof. There's your proof. Now, I think it'll be enough for many of the hogs on the QAnon side to think, got him. Trump should be returned to office now. Except that it's not going to happen because it's not actual proof. It won't be enough to reinstall Trump. And I think there will be likely an admission of that. I know the August 13th deadline will be pushed over again. Or, the Supreme Court's a bunch of liberals, they're corrupt, blah, blah. Whatever reason they're going to come up with, they're going to come up with a reason to say that greatest theft ever, too bad we can't do anything about it. And the QAnoners believe it. They're going to believe it, and they're going to go along with it. And these people are going to continue to get sales, clicks, views, donations, all of that. And, well, I mean, it's a good grift for them and a good content farm for me, and I'm going to be honest about that. And so, keep it going. Keep it going. I'm on this train to the end. Why not? If it wasn't so dangerous, it'd be hilarious. That's true. That is true. I had proof, but it was hacked and stolen, and that's my proof it existed. True. Trump cannot be reinstated. There's zero mechanism in the Constitution for it, even if they had all the proof. Yes, that's also true. And again, there is no proof. It's not going to happen. All right. I can make a grift about not finding evidence. Poggers. Yes. Mike Pillow. While you're sitting here waiting in my non-existent proof, please go buy my pillows with this discount code and visit my crappy Frank website. That's exactly what he's doing, too. 100%. 100%. I almost, even though I did a story on it, or I mentioned it in a story yesterday, I still forgot about Frank's speech. What a weird thing to name your website, for one, your social media. It's supposed to be like a YouTube and a Twitter combined. Okay, but I had no security. Frankly, I hear that it sucks to just even be on it. All right, whatever. And I don't know what you get from it. Maybe to sell their personal data to other corporations. I don't know what it is. But anyway, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Made the mistake of browsing Mike Pillow's Instagram, pressing number of MAGA chuds defending him in his business. Why didn't he just stick to pillows, man? That's my question. I'm so tired of hearing about Mike. Wish I knew where to get a good pillow. It ain't my pillow, that's for sure. Be better off getting a brick. All right. Go to Rand Paul. Senator Rand Paul is not happy with YouTube. He recently ran afoul of the platform's rules about misinformation, specifically on COVID-19. And he earned, for his efforts, a 1-week suspension on his account. On Tuesday evening, Rand Paul tweeted about having this video pulled from YouTube and the suspension, saying that it was, quote, a badge of honor. Left-wing cretins at YouTube banning me for 7 days for a video that quotes 2 peer-reviewed articles saying cloth masks don't work. So, okay, so here's the interesting thing. I love how they call YouTube left-wing, when the most dominant channels on YouTube are conservative channels. One of the most dominant YouTubers is a conservative, is Tim Pool. I know. Oh, what are you talking about? Tim Pool, center left. Bullshit. Center left who just happens to echo all of the right-wing talking points. Sure. And then says, oh, civil war, it's coming. There's going to be a civil war. It's going to be a race war. It's going to be a civil war. Come on. And by the way, Tim Pool, millions of views. Millions of views, makes $600,000 a month. Come on, dude. Seriously. No, but they're left-wingers at YouTube. No, they prefer right-wingers. And then, of course, you look at Facebook, it's even worse. The top Facebook posts, the top Facebook pages is all Daily Wire, Dan Bongino, Fox News, et cetera. No left-wing channels. Come on, dude. Come on. Ridiculous. But look, at this point, and by the way, Tim Pool, I do got to give him some credit. Tim Pool knows how to put out disinformation that goes under the radar when it comes to YouTube, but also because he had connections with YouTube as well. And so it's kind of a mutually beneficial arrangement, but he doesn't go completely afoul of their community guidelines, their policies. He's very careful about straddling the line because he wants to make sure that he continues getting clicks and revenue. And so Rand Paul, not so careful. In fact, in his video, he said there was a danger. He said there was danger in mask mandates. Yes, mask mandates are dangerous. Somehow, according to him, more dangerous than catching COVID-19. Somehow, the thing that reduces your chance of catching or giving coronavirus to other people is somehow more dangerous. That doesn't make any sense. The coronavirus itself. No, it doesn't make any sense. Where is the danger in wearing masks and mask mandates? I mean, again, there's a clear danger in not wearing the mask. I mean, the 18 plus months of a pandemic that has killed 4.3 million people worldwide and slammed hospitals now with mainly anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, as well as kids that are too young for the vaccine, proves that. But okay, go off, King. Jeez. Again, it's one thing to not like to be told to do something. I don't like wearing masks. I think wearing a mask sucks. I think a lot of you agree. But it's another thing to say that, oh, no. Masks are harmful. They don't work. No, they actually do work. They clearly reduce the possibility of catching or transmitting the virus. Are they 100% effective? No. Neither are seatbelts, y'all. But we have irrefutable proof that seatbelts work and have, in fact, saved lives and are therefore more effective than doing nothing. Now, of course, it's a bad analogy because it turns out that car accidents are not contagious like a virus is. So that's why it's even more important for people to wear the mask and get the vaccine so they don't spread that around to other people. Okay? But here's the thing. Wearing a piece of cloth over your face has literally no detrimental effects on your health. It just doesn't. Doctors can sit there and wear masks in surgery, doing surgery for 8 to 12 hours. Oh, but I can't breathe. Now, what kind of special snowflake can't breathe in a mask? Come on. It's a ridiculous narrative. Condoms and birth control aren't 100% effective either, but that's not a reason to not use them at all. Again, this is the conservative narrative on a lot of things, by the way. If it somehow doesn't work 100% of the time, we should completely discard it and never use it at all. That's literally throwing out the baby with the bathwater at this point. They use this on gun control. Oh, yeah? If you don't stop 100% of the gun murders by using gun control, then you shouldn't do gun control at all because it infringes on my freedom. Even though it's been shown that it does massively cut down on gun deaths. And there's evidence of this. And this is the thing that we derive our authoritative stance on. Evidence. This is something that they do not have. The anti-maskers and the anti-vaxxers do not have the evidence to prove their side, which is why we're right. Anyway. Let me give an example, right? So now, in Kentucky, Rand Paul State has seen a 139% increase in COVID cases over the past 2 weeks. Okay. Kentucky has a lower vaccination rate, has a lower mask rate. And so you have doctors in the middle of this, doctors and nurses, health officials at the center of these COVID hotspots that are telling people, wear a mask, get the vaccine. You have former COVID skeptics in the hospital that are saying, we should have gotten the vaccine. Don't be stupid like us. Get vaccinated. But no, Rand Paul completely disagrees and disregards all of that. Here's what he said, quote, saying cloth masks work when they don't actually risk lives, as someone may choose to care for a loved one with COVID while only wearing a cloth mask. This is not only bad advice, but also potentially deadly misinformation. Hey, you know what that person should do? If they're eligible, get a vaccine. But again, it's the argument of, well, it doesn't work 100%. You could still get COVID in my hypothetical. And so therefore, you shouldn't wear the mask at all. And look, the other thing is, understand that vaccines aren't 100% effective, like 99% effective. But you're going to have breakthrough cases with vaccines. Every doctor knows this. The CDC lists this on the website. Numerous studies also have shown this, have borne this out. But they show, all the evidence shows that breakthrough cases, while they do happen, are also incredibly rare. And that those who experience breakthrough cases are more likely to be asymptomatic. And if they do end up getting sick, it generally tends to be mild, which does not require hospitalization and also does not kill you. And for those who had it like Rand Paul, understand that there is a little bit of immunity there since you've had it before, but the CDC still recommends that you get your vaccine because it does protect you more. That natural immunity does not protect you the way that getting a vaccine does. So, and look, why not do it, right? It's literally free. I know. There's one medication, and it's a result of our barbaric healthcare system, I understand, right? That when Americans see, like, oh my God, they're actually giving away life-saving medicine for free, what's the catch? Oh, what's the catch? There's got to be a catch to it. No, there's no catch. The government has proven that you can actually give life-saving medicine for free. I love how it's a gotcha where it's like, vaccine is free, but how come insulin isn't? Thank you for accidentally being left-wing. We've been making the same argument. Why isn't insulin free? Why isn't medication free? It's because of the politics of the situation, and because right-wingers like Rand Paul think, oh, socialism bad. When in reality, socialized medicine is actually pretty goddamn good. And it would mean that all of our medications would be free. But again, this is a result of, years of our healthcare system grinding Americans in the dust, where people can't go and get their medications, can't go to a doctor. And so when something's free, I get that people are skeptical. And they should really talk to their doctor and not people like Rand Paul. Okay? So now, of course, as I mentioned, the video was pulled. So Rand Paul afterwards put out a statement on this. Quote, I think this kind of censorship is very dangerous, incredibly anti-free speech, and truly anti-progressive science, which involves skepticism and argumentation to arrive at the truth. I love how he's saying, oh, how could you be anti-progressive? All right. So Rand Paul, there's a couple of things here. Rand Paul, of course, deliberately lies about free speech. What that actually means. You know what free speech is? Free speech means the government can't go and arrest you for criticizing the government. Free speech itself has limits. No yelling fire in a crowded theater and endangering other people's lives. And in some cases, depending on what you say, you can't make verbal threats towards people, which again, based on what you say, could get you in trouble on the context. And there's of course a gray area in that as well. But basically free speech says that you can tell your senator to go and fuck off, that he's a lying sack of shit, and not get arrested for it. That's free speech. That's what that means. And in some countries, understand that free speech does not exist. Russia is a good example. I would dare someone come up to Putin and tell him he's a fuckface. I guarantee you're either going to end up having a bad accident, falling mysteriously out a window, or accidentally finding your lunch tainted with polonium. Or you just end up in prison. I mean, just as Pussy Riot. Okay? They had a personal issue here in Russia. And so in places like that, free speech doesn't exist, where you can't go and criticize the government, where you actually can hear. And that's really the difference, okay? But again, we have free speech. That's great. Criticize the government. I criticize the government all the time. And that is something I believe the Founding Fathers deemed essential, which is why they put it literally in the First Amendment. So I hate when right-wingers lie about what free speech actually means and say that, well, I mean, you can say anything you want without any consequence. No, that's not true. You can say anything you want, but you're not free from consequences. And that's what that means. That's what and understand that's what right-wingers, that's what they hate about so-called cancel culture. In reality, cancel culture, which by the way, what happens when you're canceled? Has anybody ever people say some mean things about you on Twitter? Ooh, canceled. Oh, I'm so canceled. Yeah, some people have lost their $1 million or multi-million-dollar contracts on television shows. Oh, cry for this poor celebrity. Come on. What really happens? Most of the time, when you see somebody get quote-unquote canceled, they go on Fox News, they whine, they go on speaking tours, they write books and have like Netflix specials about how canceled they are. Oh my God, how I can't talk. Joe Rogan, he's got a Spotify deal for $100 million, and he talks about how it's so hard that I've been canceled so many times. Whatever, dude. Come on. Come on. You've got to be kidding me. So, cancel culture, not a thing, ridiculous. There is free speech, and there is, of course, speech that comes with consequences. And, you know, if you say terrible things, you should absolutely face consequences for those terrible things. So now there's more. He also misconstrues the scientific method. Okay. Rand Paul, understand Rand Paul is an eye doctor. He's an ophthalmologist. He's self-certified, guys. He's not an epidemiologist. He was not involved at all in the creation of the vaccine with actual scientists. It's up to them, the scientists, to ask the questions, to have skepticism in treatments, or do the argumentation to go through the scientific method. They did. They did that already during the development period of the vaccine. And it's not up to randos like Rand Paul, literally, to do that, because they do not have the knowledge in the background to really talk about the results of that, because they don't know the process. And that said, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for more information from a doctor and actually speaking to somebody who knows more about this stuff. I think you should definitely do that. If you're considering taking the vaccine, talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. They will be more than happy to break it down for you in a way that you will be able to understand. That's what they're there for. Now, he added, as a libertarian leading senator, I think private companies have the right to ban me if they want to. Oh, well, there you go. No question, right? So in this case, I'll just channel that frustration into ensuring the public knows that YouTube is acting as an arm of the government and censoring their users for contradicting the government. You hear me? Government bad. Government bad. You know what? We wouldn't need the government, and I'm not saying the federal government. These are local governments, okay? Local, state, city governments that are saying, we need to put some mask mandates in. And you have the bigger state government saying, no, you don't. And these are Republican governors who are in this massive dumb-off that they've been having since Donald Trump, because they realize that their audience really likes stupid people and wants to vote for stupid people. And there it is. Now, look, we wouldn't need mask mandates if people actually had volunteered to do this, if they had masked up and vaccinated as soon as they were able to. But at least, again, he recognizes that YouTube is a private corporation and they can do what they want. But the rest of what he says is garbage. What you think acting as the arm of the government is back? Wait till you see what Fox News did during the Trump administration, or what it, to be fair, MSNBC does, and the media, mainstream media does during Democratic administrations. Yeah, literal state TV bullshit at the expense of factual information, at least, especially when it comes to Fox News. Private corporations, media companies, guess what? As a result of deregulation, are not required to tell you the truth. They're not. That is, of course, thanks to people like Rand Paul and conservatives who think, truth. But what's truth? We're going to make things up. Alternative facts, as Kellyanne Conway had put it. And so you want to talk about that. You want to talk about acting as arm of the government or being a stenographer. Well, mainstream media kind of got a big problem with that. Conservative media, Fox News included. So that's it. All right, let's go to Rudy. Joe Rogan should talk with somebody specialized in virology. He should. He should. Because what he's doing is very harmful. All right. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is almost broke. But don't worry, he has a plan to make lots and lots of money by doing Cameo. Ah, yes, Cameo. So now, according to HuffPost, Trump's former personal lawyer has been facing mounting legal bills as he's been investigated by the FBI for his activities on behalf of certain officials, and then President Trump in Ukraine, as well as a $1.3 billion defamation lawsuit from Dominion Voting Systems for claims of election fraud. Although Trump reportedly agreed to pay $20,000 a day, no surprise, Trump has decided to not pay him that money. Oh, no. Wait, are you kidding me? Donald Trump not paying somebody that he owes? Huh. I never would have imagined. And, well, turns out, without that money, hey, legal fees, kind of expensive. Weird. As a result, a desperate Giuliani has decided to go on Cameo, a service that allows regular people to pay celebrities to record personal messages of their choice. Look, that's actually kind of a cool service, let's be honest. If you're into celebrities, which I am not, but if you are, and you want to record like a special birthday gift or something like that, or, you know, a message from, you know, your wife's favorite celebrity, whatever, to her, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. I got nothing wrong with it. In fact, funny enough, Kevin from The Office, I don't know if you remember, if any of you watched The Office, Kevin, turns out that guy is literally the guy who makes the most bank off of doing Cameo. And it's because he does the character. So that's kind of awesome. Anyway, so now, as far as making bank, Rudy Giuliani, turns out he's come real cheap. He's charging $199 for a video. In fact, here he is. Here's his intro video.
Hi, it's Rudy Giuliani, and I'm on Cameo. If there's an issue of concern that you want to discuss, or a story you'd like to hear or share with me, or a greeting that I can bring to someone that would bring happiness to their day, I would be delighted to do it. It can be arranged, and we can talk through the magic of Cameo. Thank you.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh, the desperation. Oh, the desperation. Smell it. Smells like sweat and farts and hair dye. Hey, but $199, boy, what a bargain. He is going cheap. You know who else is not going cheap? Donald Trump Jr. is charging $500. Interesting. So now, how's it going for him so far? Well, not entirely sure. However, there are some fun tweets that I want to share. One person says, "Oh dear, so it's going that bad, Rudy." Another person asks, "Bro, why not just get a job?" Hey, that's a good question. I don't necessarily know who is going to hire Rudy Giuliani, especially when he can no longer practice law in New York, and where the perception is that he could be going to prison. Just saying. Another person adds, "This is pathetic. How far are you fallen? Groveling for what amounts to pennies for the amount you owe and will owe when Dominion is done with you. $1.3 billion. That's a lot of money." Another person adds, "Oh, Rudy, I'm starting to honestly feel bad for you." Another person asks, "Do you dress up as a clown and do birthday parties too?" And finally, the best one here, Dwayne Watson saying, "From America's mayor to America's embarrassment." Hashtag sad. Baby. Oh, it's too good. Too good. All right. All right. I'm gonna see if I can get through this as fast as possible. Things do not appear to be going well for Activision Blizzard. Apparently, they have had staff changes as a result of the lawsuit by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. And this was over, of course, a culture of like a frat boy culture, as well as sexual harassment. And so I've got some updates. Now, it appears that Jesse Meshuk, company's head of global human resources, has left. That happened last week, according to The Verge. They report that Jesse Meshuk is no longer with the company. The company declined to comment further, and Meshuk appears to have deleted his Twitter account as well. And of course, that's not good. When you delete your Twitter account after leaving the company, not good. Not good at all. And so now there's a good reason for that. It turns out that according to the lawsuit, Blizzard's Human Resources Department was complicit in fostering this atmosphere of retaliation and allowed the situation of sexual harassment to continue. The lawsuit suggested that employees were, quote, discouraged from complaining as human resources personnel were known to be close to alleged harassers. One of the people pictured in the photographs of the Cosby suite was allegedly an HR employee, according to an ex-Blizzard developer who spoke to Kotaku. We know, of course, human resources, never on your side. HR is literally the face of the company and usually tries to get you to not go against the company. More details. In a report published earlier in Axios last week, multiple current and former Blizzard employees called the company human resources team part of the problem. They would report issues only to be ignored, belittled, and retaliated against. An HR rep reportedly told one employee to, quote-unquote, suck it up because they were acting like a brat. HR, everybody. HR. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. One quote from the lawsuit also has someone saying, "It's your fault if you hadn't been so friendly." If only you hadn't been so friendly. Wow. Gross. So now, I also reported that J. Allen Brack had left the company as well. He was president of the Blizzard department where this all had went down. But there are still too many problematic people in positions of power. And in fact, last Monday, IGN reported that a coalition of Activision Blizzard employees have formed a workers' alliance and demanded that some of this problematic leadership either leave or address their demands. So they had wrote a letter to CEO Bobby Kotick, and basically they had asked that leadership address the letter asking for changes in the workplace. So their goal, they write, is for executive leadership to address the response to the California DFEH lawsuit, acknowledge the reality of working conditions across the organization, and commit to meaningful change. They had 4 demands. One is an end to forced arbitration, the adoption of inclusive recruitment and hiring practices, increases in pay and transparency, an audit of ABK policies and practices to be formed by a neutral third party, and of course, they demanded that the third party be selected by an employee-led diversity, equity, and inclusion task force. Not do that. So now, it turns out that one of the demands is as they asked a third-party audit of the practices and policies. Well, in response, the company actually hired Wilmer Hale. Wilmer Hale is well known as being a union-busting firm. Because, of course. They explained in their letter that Wilmer Hale has conflicts of interest, including one involving compliance officer Frances Townsend. They write that she is known to have relationships with multiple partners at Wilmer Hale, including former FBI Director Robert Mueller. Townsend is also a former Bush administration official who had defended the use of torture in the Bush administration, and added that they are a union-busting firm that has a history of discouraging workers' rights and collective action, and pointed to the website, wilmerhale.com, who list their services as advising on union awareness and avoidance. So right now, workers at Activision Blizzard are coming together and coalescing into what is essentially a group, not a union yet, because they actually have to vote to unionize, but they've gotten together for collective action against the company, and of course they responded by hiring a famous union busting firm. So it really shows that their dedication to trying to change the culture and address worker concerns, well, is non-existent. They don't care. They want to, more than anything, prevent a union from happening. And so now they note. By the way, they also talked about the WilmerHale partner that is leading the investigation. It is Stephanie Avakian, who specialized in protecting the wealthy and powerful against workers, and noted that, quote, "We are already seeing the effects of this ideology in action that leadership has taken to restrict our freedom of association since last week, including reducing the size of listening sessions and limiting access to those sessions." So, as right now, of course, they're doing everything that they can to discourage these workers, collective action, as well as trying everything they can to avoid making significant changes at this company and really addressing the allegations that were outlined in this lawsuit. The response to this from Blizzard has been absolutely abysmal. Gross. Just gross. So now, the workers' complaints are also buoyed by a former Blizzard developer and co-founder of both ArenaNet and Undead Labs. This is Jeff Strain. Here's what he said. "My time at Blizzard left an indelible mark in my life and career that continues to this day. Most importantly, it showed me how abusive cultures could propagate and self-amplify over time, how hardcore gamers only is a smokescreen for bro culture, how fostering a sense of exceptionalism inhibits people from speaking up because they should just deal with it. They love the company and its games, and how passive leadership that turns a blind eye can ultimately be the most abusive thing of all." So I actually read some interesting threads by a former Diablo community manager who had talked about her experience at Blizzard and how she was routinely passed over, of course, for management positions, for higher level positions, and also had been hung out to dry during the whole first Blizzard Hong Kong debacle, as well as the Diablo Immortal. Remember, don't you guys have phones? That whole thing. She was left without any support to deal with understandably angry fans that were hoping to get an update at BlizzCon during that year for what was to be the announcement of Diablo 4, or what should have been the announcement for Diablo 4. No support at all dealing with people, and of course, no room for advancement at that company. Disaster. Strain continues by taking a very pro-union position. Quote, "Unions were started in this country to protect workers from abusive, cruel, abhorrent, unacceptable, and illegal treatment from companies. That's their entire purpose. If this week does not show us that our industry colleagues, even the most entry-level QA tester, need true support and baseline protection, I can't imagine how much worse it will have to get." He added that he welcomes his own employees, unionizing, offering his, quote, "full endorsement and support for the industry as a whole to adopt this model." That's a significant step. So far, we haven't really heard anything from from Activision Blizzard itself as a result, or any efforts to try to support unionization. Of course, they continue to try to stop unionization, and I hope that they fail. I do hope that they fail. For my part, I canceled my WoW sub. I refuse to buy any more games. I understand how that can hurt the good developers that are there, that are trying to, of course, it just didn't make enough money to survive, and really do put everything that they can into making games and to serving their community. But at this point, I can't really support the company as a whole because of how they fostered this horrific atmosphere of abuse towards those very workers. They have to be shown. We've got to send them a message that we as gamers and fellow workers, members of the working class, do not support the rampant exploitation of workers, as well as this culture of misogyny and sexism that exists in the gaming industry. We absolutely have to do something to support those workers. And so I would suggest, of course, supporting their efforts to unionize and perhaps setting up a possible strike fund just in case that they decide to do that and unionize, or a possible unionization fund to support their efforts. I'm not entirely sure what kind of direct actions you and I can take other than boycotting and sending Blizzard itself, Activision Blizzard, a message. But we should try to figure that out and to help those workers be able to, fight back against this terrible company and this terrible, not just company, but industry itself, and make a better future for workers everywhere. Right. That's all I got. There are a lot of choices when it comes to video games now. Not only lots of new titles, but it's fun to go back to old favorites. Boycotts don't have to be hard. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. A strike fund is a brilliant idea. Somebody like Nina Turner could head it. I mean, I'd like to see that. That's just one idea off the top of my head. But yeah, if anything has any suggestions of supporting these workers, I'm all for it. I'm all ears. Sorry, is this a woke-related channel? Well, I guess. If woke means supporting workers against abusive environments, then fuck yeah. Woke as fuck. And for the workers, not for the corporations. Can't boycott successful without infrastructure. That is very, very true. Very true. Define your perception of woke. Yeah, I know, right? No, nobody who's against it can seem to define that. How dare you speak against weird nerd bros? All right, so before I get going for the day, I do want to thank some patrons. I'm sorry, not patrons, but from Super Chats here. Drake Sorrento says, for the Waldorf, thank you very much. I appreciate that. DGH, thank you. Becoming a new member on YouTube. Oh, that's awesome. Ronald Del Rosario says, Mike Pillow, my dog ate the proof. True. Exoteric Dragon, thank you for becoming a new member, and thank you for the super chat. Can't afford to support all of them, but you've been nailing it since I've known I was progressive. Also, it's great TYT pre-show. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Gabby Mathis, thank you for the very kind $5. Much appreciated. I'm Christina. Thank you for the 95 bits. Bake at 420. Great name, by the way. I love it. Resubscribe for 1 month of tier 1. Thank you very much. Thank you for the new follows as well today. Y'all are great. Thank you. Woke is the new PC or SJW, means everything and nothing at the same time. Woke didn't start back in the 90s as a buzzword. It seems to be today. True. I don't follow Blizzard. I'm more of an Atlas and Sega girl. Hey, nothing wrong with that. You know what? You know what I think? Video games are supposed to be fun. That's it. Like, they're supposed to be fun. But I can't have fun knowing that workers were screwed over in the making of said game. So, for those things. At least the anti-woke guy was the point and went on his way. It's one of those things where it's like, if somebody has an open mind, you want someone to, to stay around and to have their mind open. Because from what I hear, it's one of those things where it's like, why wouldn't you be on the side of workers? Why would you be on the side of sexist people? I guess for some reason my brain can't, I just can't wrap my head around why somebody would want to be that way. Would want to be sexist toward women, or to be on the side of corporations that crush people. I don't understand it. But I do have a pretty good sense of justice, I think. And I guess maybe some people, apparently a lot of people don't. I don't know. All right. Anyway, thank you for joining the show, watching the show. I appreciate you. Love you all. Thank you. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. We'll see you later. You have a good one. Stay safe.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Mike Pence.
I have not watched this conversation.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
I got my knee.
Please clap.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.